They said the Byrd sisters were quiet, polite, harmless, but no one ever asked what was beneath their house or who was breathing in the dark beneath their feet. Raven County, Virginia, a place where secrets rot slower than bodies. Two sisters lived at the tree line where the woods grew too thick for sunlight. Clara Byrd, Eloise Byrd, both pale as frost, both strange as unfinished prayers. People stared when the sisters came into town, their hair tangled, their clothes smeared with dirt, their eyes dull, as if they'd seen something the human mind should never hold. But nobody dared question them, because the Byrd sisters didn't talk much, didn't smile much, didn't exist much outside their creaking, rotting house. Except for one sound, one whisper the town couldn't ignore, the sound that changed everything. It started on a cold September night. A neighbor walking past the Byrd house stopped dead in the road, paused, listened, because from under the floorboards, from the darkest corner of the old cellar, something was calling. A voice, a man's voice, weak, desperate, dragging the word please through broken breath. At first, they thought it was an animal, a wounded dog, a trapped boar. But the voice kept coming, human, hurting, slowly dying. Rumors hit the town like wildfire. Some said the sisters were hiding a stranger. Some said a ghost. Some said the devil himself. But no rumor was close, not even close, because beneath that house, beneath the rotting wood and cold dirt, was a man everyone had forgotten, a man the sisters claimed had abandoned them, a man the town assumed ran off years ago. Thomas Byrd, their father, alive, chained, starving, begging for anyone to hear him. And this was only the beginning, because no one knew why he was down there. No one knew what he'd done, or what the sisters had suffered, or what they were planning next. But the truth was coming, and it would be darker than anything the town had ever whispered. Like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're ready for next. The voice under the floorboards wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was the way the Byrd sisters reacted when someone finally knocked on their door. The next morning, the sun hadn't even risen when Sheriff Dalton rode out to the Byrd house. He didn't want to go. Nobody ever did. But a man's voice crying for help meant trouble, and trouble was his job. The house looked asleep, still, dead, its windows fogged with grime, its porch sagging under years of secrets. Dalton knocked once, twice, 3 times. No answer. Then, soft footsteps, slow, dragging. Not 1 pair, 2. The door opened just a crack. Clara's face appeared first, expressionless, eyes hollow, skin pale enough to pass for candle wax. "Morning, Clara," Dalton said. "We got reports of a sound coming from your cellar." Clara didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't even pretend to think. Instead, she said one word, "No." Then, the door began to close. Dalton stopped it with his boot. "Let me inside." Clara's jaw tightened like a rusted hinge. Eloise appeared behind her, shoulders shaking, eyes red as if she hadn't slept in days. But she wasn't scared. She was furious. A quiet fury, the the kind that builds behind closed doors for years. "You can't go down there," Eloise whispered, her voice trembling not with fear, but with hatred. Dalton stepped inside anyway. The smell hit him first: rot, metal, moist earth, and something else, something like a wound that never healed. He walked across the wooden floorboards. Each step creaked like a dying breath. The sisters didn't follow. They only watched. He found the cellar door, locked, fresh nails hammered across it, as if someone was trying to keep something in, not keep people out. Dalton pried up one board, then another, and the moment the final nail came loose, that voice rose again. "Help? Please?" He froze. The sisters didn't move, not an inch, their faces drained of life, because they knew what came next. He opened the cellar door. The darkness below breathed like a living thing, and somewhere in that darkness, chains rattled. If you're ready for next and want this story to continue, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment "next" below. Your support helps these stories reach more people and keeps the series alive. The cellar didn't feel like a room. It felt like a grave that had learned how to breathe. Sheriff Dalton stood at the top of the stairs, staring into the blackness. The air rising from below was cold, unnaturally cold, as if the sun had never touched that place. Behind him, the sisters stayed frozen in the doorway, silent, expressionless, except for Eloise's hands, which were shaking so hard her fingers looked blurred. Dalton took the first step down. The wood groaned, dust fell, chains rattled in the dark. "Thomas Byrd, if you're down there, speak." Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Then, like a dying man forcing out his last prayer, "Help me." Dalton's lantern finally caught something. A face. Pale, sunken, hollow eyes staring up at him from the corner. Thomas Byrd. Or what was left of him. His beard tangled like dead grass, his wrists raw from metal cuffs, his skin stretched thin over bone, a man starved so long he barely looked human. Dalton's breath caught. "What happened to you?" Thomas opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. His lips trembled, his eyes kept drifting past Dalton, to the top of the stairs, to the sisters. Clara flinched, just for a moment, barely visible, but she flinched. Dalton saw it, and he understood something was wrong, very wrong. He turned back to Thomas. "Did they do this to you?" Thomas didn't nod, he didn't shake his head, he just cried. Silent tears cutting trails down his dirt-covered face. Dalton stepped closer, and that's when he saw it. The carvings on the walls. Dozens of them. Scratches, words, names, dates. Some written in dirt, some carved with fingernails, some smeared in something darker. And one sentence repeated more than any other. "Please don't come down here." Dalton shivered. This wasn't just a prison, it was a warning. He turned toward the stairs, but the sisters were gone. The doorway was empty, silent, watching. And above him, the sound of a lock sliding into place. Clunk. Heavy. Final. The sheriff wasn't alone in the cellar anymore, but he wasn't free either. The Byrd sisters had just sealed him inside. When the lock slid shut, it didn't sound like a door closing. It sounded like a verdict. Sheriff Dalton spun toward the stairs. "Clara! Eloise! Open this door!" No answer. Only footsteps. Light, careful, disappearing deeper into the house above him. Dalton slammed his fist against the wood. Dust rained down. The old hinges moaned, but the door didn't move. The sisters had trapped him, just like they trapped their father. Thomas Byrd wheezed from the corner. "Sheriff?" His voice cracked like a dry stick. "You shouldn't have come." Dalton turned, raising his lantern. "Why? What did they do to you?" Thomas shut his eyes, not from pain, from shame. "They're sick, Dalton. Sick in ways no doctor can name." His voice shook. "They weren't born this way. They were made." Dalton stepped closer. Made by who? Thomas's eyes flicked toward the ceiling, toward the sisters, then back to the sheriff. "You need to listen," he whispered, "before they come back." Dalton crouched. "Tell me everything." Thomas swallowed hard. "They weren't always monsters. They were children once, laughing, running, free." A tear rolled down his cheek. "But their mother, she changed them." Dalton frowned. "Mary Byrd? She died years ago." Thomas shook his head violently. No, she didn't die. She drowned." Dalton waited. Thomas continued, voice trembling. "There was a flood. The river took her. When they found her body, she was twisted, bruised, unrecognizable." He paused, and the girls saw her. They saw everything. His eyes darkened. After that day, they stopped speaking, stopped playing, stopped being children. Dalton felt a chill crawl up his spine. "So you chained yourself down here to protect them?" Thomas let out a broken laugh. "No, they chained me. They said I didn't protect their mother. They said I let her die. And one night they dragged me down here." Dalton stared at him. "Two girls? Children? They dragged you?" Thomas nodded slowly, dread filling his eyes. "They're stronger than they look, much stronger." Dalton's grip tightened on his lantern. "What are they planning now?" Before Thomas could answer, footsteps echoed above them. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. Then a whisper through the floorboards, soft, cold, and unmistakably Clara's. "Sheriff, stop talking to him." Dalton froze. Thomas stopped breathing, because the sisters were still listening, and they didn't like what they were hearing. If you want next, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more dark historical stories, and comment next. Your engagement helps the channel reach more new viewers and keeps the series alive. The sisters didn't shout. They didn't scream. They just whispered, and somehow that was worse than a threat. Dalton stepped back from the stairs, lantern trembling in his hand. "Clara, Eloise, open this door," he said, trying to keep calm. No reply. Only the soft shuffle of feet moving across the boards above him, slow, steady, circling like predators deciding when to strike. Thomas Byrd pressed himself deeper into the corner. "They're angry now," he rasped. "You shouldn't have asked questions." Dalton glared at him. "I'm the sheriff. I do more than ask questions. I stop crimes." Thomas shook his head. "You don't understand. This isn't a crime." He swallowed. "This is a curse." Dalton frowned. "Curse? What are you talking about?" Thomas lifted one trembling hand and pointed to the cellar walls. Dalton raised his lantern, and he saw them again, The carvings, hundreds of them, claw marks, words scratched by desperation. But one symbol repeated more than any other, a crooked circle with 2 slashes through it. Dalton traced it with his finger. "What is this?" Thomas closed his eyes. The mark their mother drew, before the river took her. Dalton froze. "What do you mean?" Thomas breathed shallowly. She believed something was coming for her. Something in the woods, something watching the house. His voice dropped. And she said the mark would protect the girls. Dalton shook his head. "That's superstition." Thomas opened his eyes, haunted eyes. "Maybe, but whatever she feared, the girls fear it too, and they think I brought it here." Before Dalton could respond, the house creaked above them. A door opened, closed, then the sound of something heavy being dragged, slowly, across the floor. Dalton stiffened. "What are they doing?" Thomas's voice cracked. "They're preparing." "Preparing for what?" Thomas turned to him, tears streaming. "For you, Sheriff." A breath shuddered out of him. "They can't let you leave." Dalton's jaw tightened as the dragging sound stopped directly above the cellar door. Dust sifted down in a thin curtain. Silence followed. Dead, suffocating silence. Then Clara's voice, soft as a lullaby. "He knows too much, Eloise." Eloise answered, trembling with madness and devotion. "We have to finish what Mother started." Dalton clenched his lantern. Thomas started sobbing, because whatever Mother started was about to continue with blood. If you want next, be sure to like this video, subscribe for more dark story episodes, and comment next. Your engagement helps push this series to more viewers and keeps it going strong. The cellar wasn't just dark. It was alive, watching, waiting. Dalton gripped his lantern tighter. Every shadow on the walls seemed to shift, as if the cellar itself breathed with the sisters' anger. Thomas huddled closer to the corner. His chains rattled with every tiny movement. "You have to be quiet," he whispered. "They can hear everything." Dalton's eyes darted upward. Footsteps. Scraping. A soft hum, like a lullaby warped by madness. Clara and Eloise were preparing something above. He could feel it. The tension in the air was like a wire stretched too tight. One wrong sound and it would snap. "Thomas," Dalton said, "we need a plan." Thomas shook his head violently. "They're not like other people. They think in ways you can't imagine. You can't fight them. Not with strength, not with words, not with fear." Dalton swallowed hard. Then came a louder scrape, metal against wood. Something heavy being dragged toward the stairs. The sisters were coming. Closer. Deliberately. The floorboards groaned with each step. "Sheriff," Thomas gasped, "they want me silent, forever. And now, you're here." Dalton's heart pounded. He tried to steady his breathing, but the smell hit him. Rot. Iron. Decay. Clara's whisper came first. Soft. Insidious. "Stay where you are, Sheriff. Move and you'll regret it." Eloise's voice followed. "I told you, Clara. He can't leave alive." Dalton realized the sisters weren't just protecting a secret anymore. They were hunting. They were predators in their own home, and he was trapped in the trap. Thomas moaned softly. They learned it from Mother. How to wait, how to plan, how to strike without mercy. Dalton's lantern flickered. A draft swept through the cellar. Chains clinked, and the scraping above stopped. Dead silence. Then, slowly, a shadow descended down the stairs. Not Clara, not Eloise. Something larger. Something moving in the dark. Watching. Dalton's pulse raced. He realized the night was far from over. And in that cellar, no one was safe. If you want next, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more chilling historical mysteries, and comment next below. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps these dark stories alive. The shadow moving down the stairs wasn't human. At least, not entirely. Dalton froze, lantern trembling in his hand. The light caught a flash of pale skin, long twisted arms, and eyes that glimmered with something cold. Inhuman. Thomas shrank back into the corner. They learned from Mother, he whispered, voice shaking. Half madness, half method. You can't understand. The shadow stopped midway down the stairs. A faint giggle escaped, not the giggle of a child, but the echo of something broken. Dalton swallowed hard. You're not alone? The shadow shifted. Two more shapes emerged behind it. The sisters, Clara, Eloise, silent, grinning, eyes empty but burning. Thomas gasped. They've combined. The fear, the anger, the patience, all of it. They've become perfect hunters. Dalton's hands tightened on the lantern. Why are you doing this? He shouted. Why him? Why keep your father chained? Clara's voice slid through the air like ice. He left her. He failed her. He failed Mother. Eloise stepped forward. And now, he will pay. Dalton backed toward the corner. The chains rattled beside Thomas. The sheriff realized they didn't care about witnesses. Not anymore. A low hum filled the room. The sisters began circling the cellar like predators, slow, deliberate, each step echoing through Dalton's chest. Thomas whispered a warning. They taught themselves strength, control, violence, all for the day someone would come asking questions. Dalton's mind raced. He searched for any escape, but the shadows above had eyes everywhere. Every creak of the floorboard, every flicker of the lantern, every breath was watched. The sisters stopped circling. The shadow in front lunged, moving faster than human reflexes should allow. Dalton barely raised the lantern in time, and the glass shattered with a scream of heat and firelight. Thomas cried out. Dalton stumbled backward. Chains clanged against stone. The sisters just smiled. And in that moment, Dalton realized this wasn't just a trap. It was a game. A game they had been planning for years. And he was its newest player. The cellar wasn't a room anymore. It was a cage. And Dalton just realized he was the prey. The sisters circled closer, Clara in front, Eloise behind, their eyes cold, unblinking, like winter ice that could cut through flesh. Thomas shivered against the wall. "They'll play with you first," he whispered. "Let you think you might escape, then finish you slowly." Dalton's lantern cast long shadows, shadows that danced along the chains, the walls, the corners. But the real shadows were above, moving, watching, waiting. Clara stepped forward. "Do you see what happens to those who ask too many questions?" Her voice was soft, terrifying, like velvet stretched over a knife. Eloise tilted her head. "Do you think your badge can save you? Do you think courage can save you? We've been waiting for years, and we're patient." Dalton's mind raced. He needed a plan. Anything. But every instinct screamed, "Don't move, don't breathe, don't look away." A sudden creak above made him flinch. Something heavy swung down. A chain? A rope? He couldn't tell. The sisters' laughter echoed through the room. Low, deliberate, horrifying. Thomas pressed himself tighter to the corner. "They'll drag you like they did me. Then they'll decide if you live." Dalton's voice shook. "I'm not letting this happen. I'm getting us out of here." Clara's eyes narrowed. "Bold words for a man trapped beneath our home." Eloise stepped closer. "And yet, I almost admire your courage." Dalton glanced at Thomas. His father's eyes pleaded silently, "Don't do it. Don't fight them." But Dalton clenched his fists, and for the first time, he realized fear alone wouldn't save him. The sisters advanced. The shadow moved faster than ever. Chains rattled with a metallic scream. Dalton raised his lantern high, and in that flickering light, he saw something that froze his blood. Behind the sisters, carved on the wall, were hundreds of words, names, dates, symbols, and at the very center, "No one leaves alive." The sisters smiled. The shadow lunged. The game had begun. If you want next, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment "next" below. Your engagement helps us continue this dark historical horror series and reach more viewers who love true horror stories. The darkness wasn't empty. It was waiting. And Dalton just realized he was running out of time. The sisters advanced slowly, almost gliding over the cellar floor. Clara in front, eyes sharp as daggers. Eloise behind, a crooked smile twisting her pale lips. Thomas shrank further into the corner, chains rattling with every trembling breath. "They've waited so long for someone to come here, and now it's your turn," he whispered. Dalton's lantern flickered, throwing jagged shadows across the walls. Chains, carvings, dust, all twisted into shapes that seemed alive. He could feel the sisters' eyes boring into his back. "Don't move," Clara whispered. "Every step you take only brings you closer to the end." Dalton swallowed hard. His mind raced. He had to find a way out, a weakness, anything. The shadow that had lunged before now darted behind the sisters, faster than human, silent as a ghost. Dalton realized this wasn't just the sisters. Something else moved with them, something born from years of hatred and madness. Eloise laughed softly. "Do you feel it? The power this house gives us?" Dalton's pulse raced. "Power?" he shouted. "You've trapped an old man, and now you're—" Clara cut him off. "Silence. He wasn't our first victim. He won't be our last." A sudden crash echoed from above. A beam snapped. Dust rained down. The sisters' attention flicked upward for just a second. Dalton seized the moment. He lunged toward Thomas and the chains. Fingers gripping rusty metal, he tried to pull the man free. But the chains held fast, and the sisters turned again, eyes blazing with fury. Voices cold and sharp as knives. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" The shadow moved faster, slamming into Dalton's side. He stumbled, lantern swinging wildly, light fractured across the walls. Thomas whispered hoarsely, "They've been planning this for decades. Everything in this house is their trap, even the air you breathe." Dalton's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed, "Run, fight, survive." But the sisters circled closer, Clara stepping left, Eloise to the right, the shadow closing in, and the cellar seemed to shrink with every heartbeat. Dalton realized one terrifying truth. They weren't just hunting him, they were shaping him into part of their story. If you want the shocking conclusion in final, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment next below. Your support keeps this dark historical horror series alive and allows more viewers to discover these chilling, true stories. The end wasn't coming. Not yet. Because the Byrd sisters didn't just finish stories, they made nightmares permanent. Dalton stumbled backward, lantern swinging wildly. The shadow lunged, chains rattled, dust choked the air. Thomas crawled toward the far corner, murmuring prayers no one could hear. "Stay calm, stay calm." But calm had no place here. Not in this house, not with the sisters, not in a cellar that had waited decades for blood. Clara stepped forward, her face calm, serene, terrifying. "You should have left," she whispered. Eloise mirrored her, a grin splitting her pale face. "But you didn't." The shadow twisted, revealing itself a grotesque figure of muscle and bone, partly human, partly something else. Dalton realized the sisters had turned years of madness into strength, predators bred from grief and obsession. He swung the lantern, smashing it against the shadow. Glass shattered, flames licked the walls. The sisters hissed, recoiling only slightly. Thomas screamed, "Sheriff, don't let them catch you!" Dalton's eyes darted for an escape. There, a narrow opening near the far wall, a chance, a risk. He bolted. Chains clanged behind him. A shadow lunged. A shriek tore through the cellar. Dalton twisted, stumbled, and slammed into the wall. Rubble fell. Dust clouded the room. Thomas tried to follow, but his chains held him. "No, Thomas!" Dalton shouted. The sisters advanced, slow, deliberate, unstoppable. Their voices soft as silk and sharp as knives. "Forever, no one leaves alive." Dalton's mind raced. Fight or flight, flight or fight. Every step closer to the exit, the sisters' shadows stretched, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. He dove through the narrow opening. Rubble scraped his arms, bruised his skin. Behind him, a final glance, Clara and Eloise standing at the edge of the cellar light, pale, eyes empty, smiling. The sheriff disappeared into the woods, heart pounding, lungs burning, but the sound of chains and laughter echoed behind him, following him. Thomas Byrd remained chained in the darkness, the sisters' revenge complete, their father trapped forever in the cellar they had built, not just with wood and nails, but with hatred and time. And the Byrd sisters vanished into the shadows, leaving a warning that would haunt Raven County for generations. Never enter the Byrd house, never question the past. Some family secrets are alive.